Good evening to my co-hosts and to our audience. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Welcome back to our podcast, the Anarcho-Syndicalist Film Club. This week's film is A Christmas Prince, 2017, selected by today's pip, Zara. The date is December 6th, 2020, and we are now 21 weeks into this online experiment. Please, Zara.
Okay, let's start with binary opinions. Christian?
My thumb is firm down for this film. Firm down.
Sheldon?
I ekes by with the thumbs down.
Oh man, it gets a thumbs up. We're going to put this on the background. Everyone's going to have to listen to it when we talk about Christmas nonsense.
So thumbs up for you. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thumbs up for me too.
Yeah.
Yes, our first 50-50.
Nice.
Is it?
Bad movie connoisseurs.
I think that's the first time we ever really had some kind of partisanship.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it does sound like we have a pretty wide range here.
Since it's like half and half, let's go with discussion of the plot first. So we're just going to have a general discussion of what did you like or did not like about the plot of the movie?
Just the plot?
Yep, just the plot. We'll go through everything. We'll start with the plot.
Okay.
I think the whole premise of the movie makes no sense at all. Like, okay, first we have this person, Amber, who is supposedly a junior editor at this fashion magazine or something, and they send her to cover this random little country that is something very minor is happening to. Like, nobody even knows about this. Like, the editor asks Amber if she knows of the place or the prince, and she says, no, I have no idea who this is. So, okay, so we have that. And then it further doesn't make sense that she goes and then sneaks into the castle and is instantly accepted as the tutor, even though her press badge is clearly visible, unless you're telling me that the royal family of this country has completely inept security. That also doesn't make sense. But if you can get over that premise, I'm sure you can enjoy this movie perfectly well.
I think that's what makes it good for me. It's like, I don't think it's meant to be taken seriously. And I think it just makes it so stupid to the point that it's so funny that you're like, this is never going to happen in real life. They're royals. Why is the first person that greets this random woman just assumes that she's a tutor? And they're just like, yeah, whatever. Let's get the plot along. I think that's the funniest part of the whole movie is everything moved so fast in the first 3 minutes. Like, we established that she's the only person who's gonna be doing this because apparently no one else wants to take this hottest scoop. And then she becomes a tutor in like the first 5 minutes. And I just find that so stupidly funny.
You say that they produced this expecting it not to be taken seriously. I wonder then how that compares with Chicken Girls, because I feel like that's a film or movie that sort of expects to be taken seriously, but aren't all films sort of produced in the expectations that they'd be taken seriously, or at least, moderately seriously? I don't know.
I think by seriously in this case is like you need to analyze and actually examine the plot points. I guess taken seriously, what you mean might be commercially, like people to actually watch it. Here, I think they just want people to watch it because it's so simple and at points stupid that people are going to enjoy it and watch it and they make more money. I think that's the route that they're trying to take. Yeah, and I think that's true for Hallmark movies too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't watch Hallmark movies.
I would say as far as like Hallmark movie plot lines go, this is already pretty cohesive if we're going to compare it to a Hallmark movie too. And some Hallmark movies are so enjoyable in how dumb they are. So I bucket it right in with the rest of the holiday movies. I was recently hearing too yesterday, I think I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about another Christmas movie. It is on Netflix if anyone wants to watch it, called A Princess for Christmas. And it has like 4 different titles and it doesn't make any sense, and it's a Hallmark movie, and it sounded like a perfect comparison to this. So I guess it's a whole thing. It's a whole genre.
Who is watching Hallmark movies? I'm curious. What is the demographic
I think
on
Yingli
the
and
studio's
I
mind?
are actually within the demographic. That's why
I feel like
enjoyed it so much.
from your from the way you talk about it, it seems like you watch them ironically, or no? Is that not the case?
You watch them for the joy of how much they don't make sense. Like my roommate in college, one of them, when I was a junior, I think both the Christmas Prince and the second Christmas Prince, where she has a baby, were both out. And for like 5 days in a row, she watched the movie with 5 different groups of people because they were so enamored in how dumb it was. And it was just so delightful for them to watch it over and over and over again and explain the multitude of like plot issues, but also enjoy how like dumb the relationships are. Like it's so simple and easy to hate.
No,
I think some people also like the actual tropes that these movies have, that it's the formula that keeps hooking people who are like, I just want to watch something very light that I know I won't feel bad afterwards, and I will have a good laugh or like a laugh in the movie.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the entertainment value this brings to a lot of people. Like it's such an predictable storyline. And it's not a challenging view at all. You can watch this no matter where you are, what's going on in your life, and you know exactly what's going to happen in the story. So I appreciate that this provides a certain value for people who understand what they're getting into. And I guess I can, in that case, excuse, the poor writing and storyline as, the filmmakers they know their audience and they're putting barely enough effort in so that it fits that demographic. It makes sense for that audience. I mean, considering this as a regular movie, of course, you have to look at it with a different lens. But I would appreciate this as what it is. It's very light, fluff entertainment, just something that you don't have to think about at all, and that encourages you not to think about it at all.
Yeah, PG-13 enough that you can put it on in the background of any like holiday gathering.
Is it PG?
Or is that not a thing?
I mean, it's PG.
Oh, it's TV PG. Okay.
It says PG for fear and suggestive conversation.
For fear? Oh, okay.
Yes, I saw
Maybe
the
the
top of my
wolves?
screen.
Oh, the
wolf. The
lone wolf.
Oh yeah.
I'm in a pack of wolves.
Yeah, the lone wolf. You only have a budget for one wolf.
It was CGI wolf, was it?
I think it was a CG wolf.
I think so. Yeah.
It wasn't moving. Only its mouth was like quivering.
Yeah.
As wolves do,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you were talking about audience, Sheldon, that made me think like, oh yeah, to me, when I think of this type of movie, I think the audience is like, those Barbie movies. Like there were a ton of Barbie movies and video games that came out when we were kids. And those are definitely aimed at like our generation of young girls and women. Hallmark movies are aimed at those girls that all grew up. The only thing that they really not improve upon, but like include on top of that is that like the characters kiss at the end and they are not animated. Otherwise, it's like the same exact demographic.
So it's for prepubescent or prepubescent.
Are you saying
girls?
we're prepubescent?
I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
It's who I am at heart, I guess.
Are there adults that watch this sincerely? Sincerely, as in like, man, what a fulfilling experience this was.
I doubt it.
I don't think so.
Then you'd be watching like Love Actually or something, right?
I don't know if you can write that off. I mean, there's
we don't know.
A lot of simple people out there.
There are a lot of simple
people with simple needs, simple desires.
They just want to live the dream of being a journalist in a foreign country, falling in love with the prince and becoming the future queen. Simple dreams.
Yeah. Sometimes you want to be the Devil Meets Prada, but also the Princess Diaries, but also Santa Claus. It can all happen for you.
So is this like a movie version of, in your opinion, a movie version of like a Danielle Steele novel? Or, one of those like one of those books at the grocery store you find with like Fabio's bare chest, and women are just, I don't know, but I feel like that type of literature has has a specific audience too, and people like, you know, middle-aged women sort of like take that, you know, that entertainment value seriously, whereas I can't imagine that being the case for this kind of film in terms of like, I'm gonna stop there, but yeah.
I think it's a similar concept. It's not necessarily the same demographic that those paperbacks are trying to capture, but the Hallmark movie style, low budget movies do have a certain demographic that they're trying to appease. And only, like Ying Li said, to a certain, just to pass that threshold, that amount of effort. So yeah. But if you do judge this as an actual film, and you're judging the plot and the score, cinematography, characterization, it's definitely gonna fall flat.
I don't personally associate films like this with Christmas. Like I wouldn't consider this a Christmas film. Maybe because I don't understand what the concept of a Christmas film is if it doesn't directly have to do with the celebration of Christmas. Because the only real...
By celebration of Christmas, you mean the consumerist Christmas, not like going to church at... going to mass or
even that. Like this movie has nothing to do with the Judeo-Christian celebration of Christmas, besides the fact that the prince's coronation event is on December 25th, right? So is it common for Hallmark movies or movies of this genre to, they're all considered Christmas films, but they don't really touch on Christmas. It's just that rom-com aesthetic with maybe a bit of more glitz and schmaltz. Yeah. Because
of further secularization, Christmas movies don't really want to be about like the story of Christ and all that. At least in my experience, I see less and less every year of that, because it's going to market itself to a wider audience. And like people who aren't experiencing Christmas for like the religious reasons, which is like most people, right? And you think about people in like other countries that consume Christmas as only a commercialized event, not a religious event, or like, oh yeah, this is definitely the way to go to get more people just to watch this garbage.
I had a quick point about, I think the first few seconds to me actually did feel kind of Christmassy when I was playing the knockoff rocking around the Christmas tree. That felt kind of Christmassy, and then immediately stopped feeling very Christmassy.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think this is as much a Christmas movie, no, less so a Christmas movie than Die Hard is.
Oh, definitely.
That's for another time. But like, just by playing a Christmas themed song, that doesn't make a movie about Christmas.
Look, this is less of a Christmas movie than Shrek 4 is a Christmas movie.
Is Shrek 4 a Christmas movie?
Oh, yeah.
What was Shrek 4? The one with Rumpelstiltskin?
Isn't Shrek 4 the one with his kids? And he's like telling them stories? That's my understanding of Shrek 4, but maybe I don't remember correctly.
No, I think 4, isn't that just like a...
Or maybe it's
wasn't that like a TV movie?
Instead.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta add this to the list now.
Yeah.
In my head, it resides as Shrek 4, but maybe it wasn't Shrek the Halls. That's what it was
Shrek
called.
the Halls.
Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah. Back to the Christmas. Oh, what did you say?
Looking at my list of Christmas films, my 50 film long list, I think whether they are sort of consumerist or not, there's always still a touch on like, Christian morals somewhere in the film. So not like Old Testament type of morals, but like, I don't know. There's sort of a Christmassy.
It's like, usually fably. Yeah, I know you're talking. It's like Little Match Girl. You're like, oh, Christmas story has nothing to do with Christ, but she goes to heaven and like suffers. So very Christmassy. Like that's how people try to tell it to you. But this one doesn't really have that moral. It has maybe the tinge of it is right when, what's her name? Amber decides not to break the story because she like wants to protect a family that has suffered a lot. But I wouldn't say that's necessarily Christmas tide in the way that they shaped this.
Yeah, I guess coming back to what Christian is saying, the fable-y, just like Christmas moral / what it really means to be Christmas is, I guess someone could make an argument for the gift of giving, family. He's coming back to family during Christmas time after a long time being away. And his father gave him the gift of recognizing family beyond blood and as a relationship rather than like he is the prince because he was chosen as family, not because he was related to them. One could make an argument for that, but I think that's the most Christmas it really went, besides the snow
I think that
and the time.
I think that's a decent argument. I mean, like if you ignore the fact that all this could have been avoided if the father had simply
Not
made
died?
the law,
Oh.
if he had made the law public before dying, instead of sealing it in an envelope in a hidden compartment of his desk, and having this cryptic message hidden in an acorn. Yeah, all of this could have been avoided if that law had been passed. But instead, he went through this convoluted process.
That also makes no sense because he has a prime minister, so he's not head of government. So I don't understand how he can pass any type of law.
Can he just use, does he have like a set of paper in his desk where he just starts writing laws and putting seals and that's good. It's not
the will of the people that makes the law, it's the stationery.
Yep. Yeah. It's the seal and the stationery, wax and paper. That's what makes the law.
Oh no, yeah. Number 5 on my top 10 worst things about A Christmas Prince is the nonsensical political structure of Moldova.
The joy. I like how they pull all of their parliament together too, and as they're like ringing in the new king, the like cousin or whatever, everyone just goes boo. I'm like, why are you even here? What is your role in government?
I was thinking this would have been so much more interesting if Moldova fell into a civil war because of this. If the country was suddenly split between the two kings, between the two princes, or whatever. He wasn't a prince. Simon, what was he? Lord
Count?
Simon.
Lord?
A count?
Yeah, Count Simon Duxbury, the Alex Moffat lookalike.
That's that's a movie I would have voluntarily watched.
Yeah. Just imagine Moldova torn apart by two claims to the throne, a modern War of the Roses.
Why does that sound even more Hallmark? You know how Hallmark movies, I don't know if you know, or like expect it from a Hallmark movie, that they like everything will be normal and then suddenly someone will like die of a tragic accident and everything will like be torn apart, but then in the next scene they'll be like, but everything's okay now that we've lost Bob, it's okay, the spirit of Christmas has brought us all together again, and then the movie ends.
Yeah, they should have done that. Maybe that's part 2. More reason.
Maybe now that they've had the royal baby, that's the 4th movie. It's coming. Civil War, the Christmas Prince cinematic universe.
Okay, Netflix is slowly building us up for this.
I wonder if they were planning on releasing a 2020 movie, since they've released one every year.
It should be about the kid, right? I guess.
I would think so.
Why would they not have released? I don't think people. I don't know. I know Amazon movies get released sometimes in theaters, but I don't know about Netflix movies.
I would have expected that, like maybe because of issues completing the movie, they wouldn't have released it this year.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if there were plans for another one.
Like filming, yeah.
Yeah, like the budget doesn't seem that bad. She wore the same outfit all week long, so clearly they're willing to make some cuts here and there.
I guess that's more realistic because she's a junior editor. She only has a couple outfits for a short trip.
I think she was also.
But she wore the same shoes and the same T-shirt and the same, like she had the exact same.
My favorite I'm a different girl trope is she wears Converses with her dress. That's another. I'm different.
Raises her ball gown and she's wearing
to show her Converse.
Scandalous.
It was.
They also did her makeup in a very, like, her makeup and outfits were extremely 90s. And I don't know if that was anticipation of like the tropes that would be happening now, but none of the other characters have that makeup or outfit. So I was like, what is happening? Like, not even the people who like work in her office. There's one shot where it's her and her two friends, and she and her friend are wearing almost the exact same outfit, like white collared shirt with a blue sweater that comes up in the same shape. And the screenshot just looks like really eerie. I was like, are they wearing the exact same thing? So I have a lot of questions for whoever did costume and makeup.
You're right. This film was made in 2017, but has the feeling of an early 2000s. Princess Diaries? That came out in like early 2000s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have the archery scene, which is a ripoff from Princess Diary too. I think that's I think there was an exact scene.
That's nice.
I actually didn't predict the ending.
Maybe
it's just the ending of the movie where that he was adopted. I didn't see that coming, but I wasn't really like trying to figure out the movie, and that the royal decree, because it's like it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. I thought in the end the message was that he was actually King Richard's son from another woman.
Oh,
that's what I thought it was gonna be.
But they're actually blood related, because that's more likely to happen than pulling out a law out of an acorn.
Oh my goodness.
I really felt it coming. But I guess that was their version of the Hallmark twist. They were like, don't worry, illegitimacy of your son is nothing compared to the love a father can give his child, and a written decree on an old piece of paper.
That's what I thought.
I think this movie definitely doesn't, no, maybe it does. I'm just thinking of how it portrays a monarchical nation that still has a king that is somewhat relevant to the government. And it does kind of show how ridiculous that is, how the whole concept of succession and like, oh, is he ready to take on the throne and rule the people? Like, how is this man in any way qualified to run an entire country? And he clearly isn't going to run either, because the prime minister is the one who crowns him. So if we throw away the politics of this movie, it just really shows how stupid the whole fairy tale concept and the aspiration of royalty is, how unearned it is, and how little sense it makes in our modern society.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's watching The Christmas Prince and being like, I would love to be Aldovian royalty. But people will watch like The Princess Diaries and The Princess Bride, stuff like that, and be like, oh, I wish in fairy tales. This is not a fairy tale.
Christian looks like he has something to say.
I know, I see the gears.
I do have something to say, but don't know how to put it. I was not expecting him to be related to her, the king, by blood. I was expecting, for some reason, even though this doesn't make sense, but the whole movie doesn't make sense. I was expecting that Emily would take the throne because she is related to them by blood, and that they would have changed the law, because they introduced this idea of like, why can't you be, the monarch? And she says, because of male primogeniture or something. So they sort of introduced this idea of like, maybe Emily could take the throne, but then don't do anything with it. So I was fully expecting, by the time they reveal that he's adopted, that they would change the law so that women could become monarchs in Aldovia, which I think would have made a little more sense would have made more sense than the king passing this law in secret, or maybe even a reveal of him being related to him by blood, or Richard II being related to Richard I by blood.
Wouldn't that have made more sense for his plot line too? Because his last conversation with his dad was, hey dad, I don't want to be the king. And his dad was like, no, but he never says like why. And it could be like, oh, he wanted his son to take over. Or maybe he knew that his son was not his son. Like, there was a perfect setup for them to have been like, haha, patriarchy down. But they were like, just kidding. You thought we were gonna let a girl take a power position.
Yeah, you thought that we were gonna let the best character in this movie have a good time.
Yeah.
You know what's sad? Now that it's been established that the king could just, pull any law out of his ass, he didn't write allowing females to become a queen on her own. Like he wrote something for his son, but he didn't write anything for his daughter. You know, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Yes, his son is going to be the king, but this will allow other women to gain power in the future. But he decided not to. Is King Richard really a good person that we think him to be?
I don't think the film makes it. Well, maybe it does in the last will and testament thing, but I feel like I never got a feeling for, oh, Richard I must have been a great monarch or something. I don't feel like that was well established in the film for me to, or I don't know if you have something.
I thought he was a good dad, at least, like, because the daughter was like, oh, I miss dad, everything. I guess you can miss your dad without him being a really good person.
At 10 years old, everyone misses their dad when they die.
The one thing that I noticed was that when the press conference was canceled, and they had that buffoon of a whatever media director was, who was like prancing around saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's canceled." One of the reporters shouts out, "Oh, King Richard wouldn't have done this. Come on!" As if King Richard was some sort of
like some really good figure.
From there.
I think I got it from there because everybody's like, oh, King Richard. Oh, that guy's replacing King Richard. Like that sentiment, but I don't know.
No, he definitely was not a very good parent. He doesn't tell his son that he's adopted, and his son is like 27 years old.
That's true. In my head, I'm like, oh, you tell them when they turn 18. But I never thought about it that he's way older than 18.
I think my other thing was, for all my issues with the plot, most of my notes and most of my problems with the film are not really plot based. The thing that gave me like a firm thumbs down was not the plot, although that's a problem for me, but like all the little things, but we can get to that later. But there were just like so many problems with continuity in the film that it really just like threw me out of the experience.
Oh, I guess we could move on to that. I think one thing that I remember, like, I don't think I was, keen enough to see stuff, but I remember not shaking the queen's hand, and at the very end, at the coronation, the prime minister shook her hand. Like no one was supposed to shake her hand, but then she was shaking hands at the coronation, and I was just like, okay, because they made such a big deal about it at the very beginning of the film. So I think towards the very end, she was shaking some people's hands, and I was shocked.
Yeah, there's like lots of funny little things like that aren't consistent. Like when the main character walks down the staircase in her dress. Yeah, Amber. She walks down the stairs, and then the prince approaches her, and they go back up the stairs. I'm like, where are you going?
I did a little deep dive into the state of Aldovia. A couple points I'd like to relate. I don't know if you were gonna. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but I probably will. Okay, so the film was shot in Romania, mainly at the Peleș Castle. So from that we have an established location. But since it's Aldovia, not Romania, we can take that. We can separate those two concepts. The recurring statue that we see close-up shots of is of King Carol I of Romania, who reigned in the late 19th century. So that is clearly not Richard. So another thing we can take out of the equation. Amber flies United Airlines directly from New York to Aldovia, and it's clearly seen that this is some sort of hub for United Airlines as well. For some reason, there are like a whole bunch of United planes docked at this airport. So that takes it out of Eastern Europe, because there aren't any United Airlines direct flights that go from the United States any further than Central Europe. All the signs in this country are in English, and they all speak English with British accents. So I'm placing this somewhere, possibly an island near the British Isles, maybe a separate sovereign entity that's separated in the past 2 centuries or so. Another thing that points to this is that they have 2 Black members of nobility that I think could point to their colonial past, or maybe some progressive present where the nobility have married interracially. The Charleston royal family name is very British, but it has origins in the peasantry. So that's also interesting. Maybe, there was some peasant family that immigrated from the main isle, the British Isles, onto this island. And from there, they established this small little kingdom, or the state of Aldovia. I don't know why it's not called the kingdom. The guards in the castle with the halberds are evocative of continental Europe, though. So maybe this state of Aldovia has a better relationship with the European continent than the British do, because we do see a lot more European-inspired elements, such as their license plates and their on their cars. Their taxis are Mercedes Benzes, BMWs, and Volkswagens. Very European, very German. The plates have 2-digit dash 3-digit license plates, which are similar to the Swiss plates, which have 2 letters followed by up to 6 digits. So I'm seeing that this is possibly somewhere between the British and Europe, similar to the relationship the Swiss do with the European Union. Their flag is simply the Nigerian flag with the coat of arms in the middle, which is, it's quite an ugly flag. I'm guessing the green could be representative of agriculture, of nature, maybe, of the youthful nature of their nation. Maybe it's a young nation founded in the past century or two. And yeah, so I came to the conclusion this is probably a large island, or maybe a group of islands off the coast of England that's separated sometime relatively recently, where United Airlines still has the reach with their main international flight range. It makes sense linguistically as well as culturally, as you can see with their European influenced designs.
Spot
Beautiful.
on. I was thinking about where Aldovia could be, because the same with like Genovia and Princess Diaries. I was like, where could this be? I just assumed it was near Switzerland, just because it was, mountainous and snowy. But I'm glad you did all the actual work of trying to deduce where everything was.
This was a good use of my time, for sure.
Yeah. Sheldon, where would we be without you? I wouldn't have known that their flag was just the Nigerian flag with a coat of arms on it.
It was.
I've learned so much.
And I mean, I'm not even going to get into the politics of this country, but that's too complex a story to get into.
So this was the palace. Which palace did you say it was?
It was Pelish Castle in Romania.
Do you know when it was built?
In the 1890s, I think.
Oh, I noted that it looked like a freaking McMansion with all its disparate architectural stylings. I was like, no way, this is a real thing. Netflix must have like constructed an edifice of what a fancy European place might look like, and ended up with a McMansion. It's disheartening to think that this is true Central European or Eastern European 19th century architecture.
Well, it is Romania. And
I mean,
seriously, do we take Romania? No,
none.
We're Romanian fans.
Nonetheless.
There are Romanian fans. Yes, I'm sorry to bring you down, because we do have Romanian fans.
Like, really, you had a king, but what was he king of? Like, what did you have? Like, even Luxembourg knows that they don't need a king. They have a Grand Duke.
Yeah.
I think if Luxembourg has a Grand Duke, Romania doesn't deserve a king.
Yeah, that first hall where she got caught, and the press conference rooms are so ugly too.
I like how she's so odd when she walks in too. It's like an empty room, and there's a few statues on the side. She's like, amazing, I love it. Never
She starts taking pictures.
She takes
Like
pictures of literally everything whenever she feels like it, and nobody notices.
And she's the only one who has a phone. Like, it's not like people, I don't see anyone else with their phones out. And I'm like, this girl is in a fancy event, and she just whips her phone out, takes videos, takes pictures, and everyone else is busy talking to everyone, and they don't have their phone. So this girl is like an odd, like, she sticks out. No one catches her.
A lot of my concern was with how many times she pulled out her phone and started taking pictures of Richard too, and him
like
at the
right in front
piano.
of his face too.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
phone out, like.
She didn't even try to like pretend that she's on her phone and she's just doing something. No, she's.
And you could hear her. She did turn her phone in like silent mode, so you could hear the camera click. So very.
Did he ever catch her?
Of her? I don't think so.
No.
I think that's just his thing. Like, if he never caught her, then there's something up with him.
No, they're both imbeciles.
Did you mean to say that nobody else in Aldovia had phones, or nobody else in the
that event, in the
Because-
fancy parties?
Okay, yeah.
And the fancy parties where she was whipping them out.
Yeah, she definitely should have been caught long, long before she actually was. They did no background checks or confirmation or anything. She even has she doesn't have any sort of identification proving that she's Martha Anderson. So really, it really makes you it forces you to suspend your disbelief there.
I guess if there are no other like miscellaneous things that bothered people, are there other things that are?
There are a lot, but too many to get into.
Any major?
Oh, I thought here's another really small one that I was so delighted and upset by at the same time. At the end of the movie, when her friends are getting ready to like go out and party, right? There's that presumption that she's gonna go with them until she sees the date and that they have pulled a third person for her. But she's wearing her diner uniform. Was she gonna go out for New Year's Eve in her diner uniform? Was that part of her night?
Do her friends even have names?
I don't know what they are if they do.
Gay man and black woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oof.
I read that's more diversity than Hallmark movies are, apparently, because it's usually an all-white cast. So Netflix,
the bar is very low.
Step with their token people.
These people were just very annoying. I don't know who says this, but somebody says this, and I just got really infuriated. Someone says, "Where there's a tiara, there's dirt." As though that were some like normal quip. I'm like, no, what kind of, that's not even witty. And that they just say a bunch of things that make no sense.
The dad, every conversation.
Oh my God,
he has that one piece of cliched advice. He's the cliched maxim-filled father with an attitude. Stay true to your dreams and success will follow. You gotta listen to your heart, Peanut. It'll always tell you the truth. Failures plant the seeds for greater successes down the road. Ah, yes, Father. Great advice I've never heard before.
He's like a walking book of cliche advice. He just looked up advice on the internet and decided handing it out to two random people, I guess in his diner, and his child, whenever it depends on whichever comes in handy.
Gives you the presumption that like in preparation for having a kid, he just like scrolls on the internet like, okay, must memorize all these things. Will repeat at age 24 when she goes off to a kingdom and meets her friends.
Maybe he just has like some sort of obsession with fortune cookies, and so he like eats a whole bunch and memorizes what they say, and so he has a different one for every occasion.
I love that. I would love a character.
Some dedication.
What if a character just gets a phone call from like their extended relative and they're like, I don't know what to say, so they just quickly eat a fortune cookie and just read whatever's on there. I like that as a trope.
I think it all extends past the quips though. At the press conference, he points to Amber, is her name. The press secretary calls on the polite girl in the red sweater, and she asks, "When are you planning to reschedule the conference?" And someone says, "Yeah, she's right," as though she were making, a statement and not a question. Just like the dialogue throughout, not just the quote unquote quips, but like the plain dialogue made no sense. The
like writing in this movie is just really off sometimes, and for Amber's character, they have her say things, I feel like, to make her sound more American compared to everybody else, but it just comes out as like improper English that I've never heard any human say. Like there's one scene where she's like walking with the prince and he's like, you want to do this or something? And she's like, serious? And I'm like, do you mean seriously? Do you mean, are you serious? Like, I've never heard someone
serious? Question mark.
Maybe it's a New York thing.
Or I have this one screenshot of her looking at the girl as they're eating cookies, and the little girl is like, better? And she says, so better.
So better. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the convo with the kid when they initially met was so cheesy. It was just like, I couldn't. I think that's the cheesiest one. At least I think I cringed the most in that scene when he's like, no, you're just a normal kid, You think I'm something about disabled, and people just think of me as someone who has everything but can't do anything. I'm like, oh man.
I know, they go with the whole trope with her. They go so fast. They go from her being like, I'm going to put a mouse in your sheet to, I'm a sad, disabled girl. And then the only other time they ever address her being disabled is also to like play into the fact she might die because she's delicate when she's on the toboggan. And I'm like, this poor child actress. But I feel like she did a good job all in all.
She was hands down my favorite character.
She was my favorite. I think she saved
100%.
I don't know if there's any other Hallmark-ish Christmas movie that had their dynamic. I think it's what made it a little more unique than every other, oh, Santa is my dad Hallmark movie. And she seemed like the most genuine character in the movie and most interesting, in my opinion. I think I enjoyed her the most out of everyone else. Was just like a stock character. I guess she was sort of a stock character, but the child actor was able to pull off her character better than anyone else in the movie. So yeah, I enjoyed her performance the most.
I think by sole virtue of her being a child actor, I threw her into the people I disliked camp. And the person I had the best time with was the I forget what her name was, the madam of the caretaker,
Mrs. Averill.
Mrs. Averill, yes. I was like, I like you, Mrs. Averill. You're
I thought she was gonna be Richard's mom.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my god!
oh my goodness.
Okay, she has
We're
one.
watching too many Hallmark movies.
Oh no! There's one line she had that just didn't make sense to me. I think when Amber comes back and she's trying to get Mrs. Averill to help her open up the acorn thing, and she says, "I'm not going to help you. You're a traitor." Like she's not even from there.
Yes.
She doesn't even go here. Yeah, I think most of the lines in this movie were written to impart an emotion, not to impart any sensible or any real actual sentence. They could have just been grunting and making noises with their faces, and I think the story still would have been just as quote unquote good.
I have to agree with that. I think I would still put it on in the background at a Christmas party if it was correct.
Oh, another thing that I found really funny was when he was playing the piano. I forgot what he was playing. First Noel. This very simple rendition, and then she hears it, and she's, "You're really talented." I'm like, someone who has decent at piano would have played the same thing just as well. I don't know if it means talent. And they just, oh, he's a musician. He loves children. Wow, such a great guy. You know what they never really resolved was the fact that he was just going around the world, and that he had this playboy facade / what his reputation was. He was a playboy, and he can't be a leader. He doesn't have that capability. They never really established that he is the opposite of that. Did they negate that he's not?
Yeah.
He's not a playboy
When he plays with the orphans. Playboys don't play with orphans.
Playboys don't play with boys.
Yes.
Just with hearts.
Yeah, they never really negate any of those throughout the movie. They just said, oh, he loves playing with orphans. He himself is an orphan, and then he fell in love once.
He's not an orphan. Oh, I guess he didn't know he was an orphan. Yeah.
Oh, they did do some foreshadowing his affinity for orphans. He loved orphans so much because he was actually one.
Oh
Maybe that's what they were trying to show.
Oh man.
I don't know about that being the foreshadow. I think it was the king's decision to be a patron to the orphanage. That was a foreshadowing. But I guess, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I know, but I think as far as this movie is concerned, his affinity for orphans was equally a foreshadow to that revelation.
I don't know if anyone has the technical or medical knowledge to answer this question, but when Richard asks his mom, if he was adopted, and she says yes, and he asks if Emily was, and she says Emily is a miracle. What does that mean? Is that possible for someone to be?
Yeah, it is possible.
Okay, but he's 27. She's what, 10, 12?
10.
So when she was born, he would have been 17. I'm guessing his mother would have been much older than that. I guess the chances of it happening, I guess it is close to a miracle, but it just seems like a very easy way to, write that out, unless you believe it's a miracle. I guess I've gone in a loop.
There's
Say
your
it's a miracle.
there's your Christmas connection. Your second Christmas connection.
She's
Miracles.
Jesus.
Miracles. Oh.
Emily is baby Jesus.
Yeah, that's a very Jesus, God move to put Jesus, resurrect Jesus, and the most unlikely person someone would think is Jesus, female, and has what's her condition?
Spina.
There's Jesus and all of us.
Yeah,
Oh.
she is
So
little baby
could be
Jesus.
anyone.
Jesus was born to, poor parents, not.
So yeah, the opposite of everything that Jesus was.
Wow.
Are they actually rich? Because you see the condition of their holiday decorations. So tacky and hideous. They have those. They got this Romanian castle, and all they did was put these LED like streamers down the front that overwhelm completely. Like they take away from the facade. They don't add anything. And they have no large. All of their trees are tiny. The tallest one is like maybe 6 feet tall. In the outside of the castle, they have 2 trees instead of 1 tall tree.
That's what Simon said,
Again, the rich don't need to prove their wealth. So maybe that's just eccentricity.
Maybe.
We don't know what's the value of that tree. That might be the rarest tree of could be
telling
super
me that
rare.
Netflix didn't pull out all the stops for a Christmas Prince?
I was trying to look I was looking for the budget. I couldn't find it anywhere online.
Me neither.
I think Netflix is very secretive about their expenditures and income, so we may never know.
I may never. And there were so many brand deals in this movie between United and Apple, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I started seeing them and I was like, all right. Mercedes.
All those cars.
Romania.
I feel like Hooligan could have put off a better product than this.
Are you talking about my theater company?
Yeah. Sorry. For those of you who don't know, in the faceless audience, Sheldon's theater company at UCLA, I think, could have done a better job or produced something much better than this, which is disappointing for Netflix, to say the least.
Very generous of you to say so.
I would say at least for the direction of this movie, how it was directed, I noted that the party scene where they were putting the tree ornaments, the placement of the people in the room, they were perfectly spread out in small groups of people in like perfect symmetrical way, about 6 feet apart per group and a feet apart per person. And I was like, what is this party? Why is everyone so properly placed? I guess I've never been to a event like that, but I was like, this is too symmetrical. This doesn't make sense. I think that, and there are just other parts in this movie where people are placed in weird ways that I'm like, is this really what a party looks like? But yeah, direction wise, I don't know.
Wait, it totally reminds me of sorority recruitment. We also call each night a party. And every time I would always laugh when we had it, because I was like, this isn't a party. This is organized forced conversation, which is exactly what that party in the movie was. And you also do like physically place people. And you're like, no, this is totally natural. I definitely didn't force you to sit in that chair over there when I stared at you repeatedly to just take a seat.
This was actually a sorority recruitment party. Is that?
It all makes sense now.
We've touched on characters. I guess if there's any other major things or major characters anyone has to discuss.
Do we need to discuss Simon or Sophia, or can we just leave them as they are?
Yes, I would like to talk about this part of the movie. The way Simon and Sophia sort of give up their claim to the throne rubbed me the wrong way, in that they had a more legitimate claim than Richard did, but Sophia almost immediately calls for a divorce within the hall. Maybe it's another plot thing, I don't know, but she says, I want a divorce, seconds after they get married, which just proves to everyone who was there that this was, a fake marriage, although also a real marriage if you consider the way European nobles get married.
The contract.
Yeah.
Merger of assets.
On the bottom of the marriage certificate, I took a screenshot in very fine text. It wasn't like anything legal or anything, but some like lorem ipsum kind of gypsy. But it wasn't lorem ipsum.
The filler?
Yeah. It was not far stuff. She think the jokes. Going as by do known noise, he wrote round a leave. warmly put branch people narrow sea, winding its waiting yet parlor's married own feeling.
See, these are the kind of gems that make me hate a movie like this.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Modern poetry. I bet they took a phrase from something, put it through Google Translate, and then translated it back to English to get that beauty.
The props were just generally I had a problem with, which is going back to my thing about the budget, in that I would expect Netflix to invest at least a little bit into the props, into the properties, because at least that would have made it, for me at least, slightly more enjoyable if I wasn't nitpicking all the different things.
I'm guessing all the budget went to that palace. That they didn't shoot most of it, I guess, in the studio. Well, we're not sure though, right? They could have shot the facade of the palace, but the McMansion might have been a studio job.
Like the interior of the mansion of the palace was shot at a different location. I think I looked at some of the pictures of the Romanian castle, and that looks like a real castle, not like the crap we see in this movie.
Imagine in their contract when Netflix is signing to and they like read the fine print, they're like, only have facade of castle and front steps. Like, that's pretty much what we got.
Yeah, the writing for Sophia and Simon didn't even come secondary to the writer's mind. It's probably like tertiary. They were just like, we need some kind of antagonist. Let's write them in this last 5 minutes that we have to write the script before the deadline. So they were basically bad stock characters.
Yeah, and I feel like they tried to put the peril in when they have Sophia kiss the prince, but that moment doesn't feel like it has, like, even any fake tension. It just feels so filler because she's fake, and then like the setup for that scene, so they have conflict in that Amber sees them kiss, therefore she is upset when she talks to the prince later when they go on a walk, but she already has motivation for being upset because she's not sure whether to reveal his like birther conspiracy, right? So like they didn't even need the setup with the kiss. We already knew she was a scumbag. Like, just wasting our time.
And that resolution was finished in like a sentence, like when he's like, no, I love you, or something like that, and she's like, oh, I believe you. It took like a second or two, so it wasn't even a big deal. So she played almost no part in the actual conflict of the whole story.
Yet again, woman antagonist who is not only not equal to her male counterpart, but if anything, is detracting from the movie because they didn't bother to think of her lines at all.
I'm trying to think of who has the most depth, because even the girl was kind of like a stock character. The way her conflict and how she acted was pretty what you expect. Is there anyone with depth in this movie?
It's Emily.
Just the sister.
Yeah, even being a stock character, I just don't expect much more. And her acting was totally okay, which is a win. Huge win for a child actor.
Yeah, it was just hard to like Amber because she spends the whole movie in a lie. And, you know, when it's revealed, there's no consequence that she really has to pay. The prince, for some idiotic reason, is still smitten with her and flies to New York to throw a snowball at her window. So she's just not good at her job. She's working for this deadbeat beat now beat, whatever the magazine is called. Yeah, this third-rate rag. Doesn't seem to be very good at her job. Like, you look at her notes that she takes throughout the day, but somehow she's been able to manage this situation. She just lacks integrity and anything that's really likable. The prince says that she's the most genuine person he's ever met. Like, it's kind of for the audience to be like, we know that's not the truth, but also like, what has she shown you that is genuine? Like, we have seen no real interaction where she's told you something besides the "I believe in you" kind of schlock. It's all been him telling her something.
Speaking of no consequences, she had her job. Like, even if she wasn't successful in writing a juicy article.
Something that didn't make sense to me was that she sort of felt inclined, or she felt like she had to come back with a juicy article. But that doesn't make sense to me, because if nobody goes back with a juicy article, then her boss can't be mad at her because nothing happened.
Yeah, I think the setup for that is just like she's looking to find if there is anything going on, and clearly there still is a situation happening with the fact that the press conference ends in a unsatisfactory note. Therefore, some nonsense be happening, right? That's what she thinks. And they explain it away as career ambition. That's why she's doing all this. That's why she's going the extra mile. And then ends up saying because she's in love with the prince from like minute one of meeting him. Sorry, minute one of meeting him without a beard.
Yeah, the beard was like, no, thanks. But without the beard, it was like, oh, ah.
Which is ironic because beards have become, more than in the past, markers of attractiveness nowadays.
Yeah.
But she's not like other girls, is she?
Maybe, yeah, I guess, yeah.
They've established it with her dress and Converse.
Yeah, she's from New Zealand, the actress is.
Oh, really?
She actually?
Yeah, Rose McIver is from New Zealand.
She had a pretty good American accent, I guess.
Her boss, on the other hand, did.
Oh, really? What is she supposed to be?
I think she was supposed to be like a New Yorker, but it kept coming in and out. Coffee, and then coffee. Just like, well, not coffee, but like, I was like, what? Where are you from?
The actress who played the boss is English. The actor who played Richard is also English. Oh, duh, he has an English accent. What am I saying? I forgot.
Wow, for an Englishman.
Damn.
He has a pretty good accent.
I completely forgot because this film is so unimportant in my life.
I think the only thing left for us to talk about, I mean, you can't really talk about cinematography in this movie. So score is the last thing.
Score as in the music?
Music, yeah.
That first number threw me off because everything else was like the actual song, which I noted to Sheldon earlier. Why didn't they just pay for jingle, or what is it?
Rocking Around the Christmas Tree.
Around the Christmas Tree, yeah. If they were going to play all the other, pop Christmas songs.
Which Christmas songs do they play?
They had something from the Nutcracker. They had Waltz of the Flowers. I think there was something else. Oh, yeah, he was playing something on the piano.
I think that might be public domain, the one in the piano, is it?
Probably, but it's like still the real thing.
Well, but I thought I heard. I watched this a while ago, and I didn't write it down. But I thought I heard something more popish, pop.
The piano one was First Noel, so that's public domain. We're trying to calculate how much money they have to spend.
No, this was non-diegetic music. Okay. That was pop that I thought I heard, but maybe didn't.
They should have a soundtrack.
No soundtrack, couldn't find one. Oh no! Actually, there are playlists on Spotify. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have to look. Not on IMDb. Oh, A Happy Holiday is the only thing.
That's the knockoff of Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. As knockoffs go, it's not a bad one. Mm-hmm. I could only find it on SoundCloud, but it did its job. It's a pretty good imitation of the actual song.
They have a waltz, which I guess is free, right? And then the Nutcracker.
The Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy or something, or Flower Waltz.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also free.
Yeah, mostly I think this film just had a lot of the standard rom-com, woodwinds, pizzicato strings, comic intrigue kind of.
Oh yeah, in the office scene. I was like, wow, I've heard this a billion times.
Yeah, a lot of Christmassy sleigh bells that shout Christmas at you without having to really show you anything more. I think last week I used the term schlock to describe the music of Tinker Tailor, but that was inaccurate because I think they actually put some effort. This week was pure schlock.
Anything we missed that's really bugging anyone in this podcast?
The archery scene. I have a lot of notes on that scene. First of all,
really?
The prince is incredibly terrible at archery because he doesn't hit the bullseye, despite the fact that he's only 10 feet away from
Yes, it was so close.
Amber, I think, says somebody said something and made it seem as though lopping off somebody's head is worse or is a better fate than having your ear lopped off. And then Amber's just
I think it was a sexual joke, was it? It was a suggestive joke.
Yes, okay.
Suggestive joke. Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Because she was like lopping off something and she paused and didn't say what it was. Actually, his ears.
Lop off his head, but it was something else. And then they look at the kid like, what? Did you just joke about who?
Well, but like, no, if I were the kid, I would have if I were the kid not knowing anything, I would have, questioned it in the moment. Like, what? There's no indication of that. There's Amber's seeming ignorance of archery at all, but later we find that she knows how to saddle a horse and ride it well on her own. And one of my comments, I say, what do you mean, how do I do it? It's shooting an arrow. Use common sense. I was so irritated by that. I was like, what? And then she shoots it through the window because she's distracted by Prince Charming. And I think Emily says bullseye because we see that the arrow hits the painting horse in the rear and it shocks Mrs. Averill. First of all, how can you see that it hit where you think it hit?
I thought she was being sarcastic.
I mean,
that she hit the window.
It's made to have you assume that she could see that it hit the horse in the rear.
She has this talent that she could just see.
It's because she's Jesus.
She's Jesus, yes.
I think we have the answer. Yeah. That is possible.
Oh, and when the arrow, shoots past Mrs. Averill, she doesn't scream. She doesn't, react more viscerally. I mean, this arrow almost killed you, lady. Please.
She's a strong woman.
What's going on?
Yeah, the classic, let me put my arms around you so I can show you how to do this. It's like such a terrible move. Like, one, you wouldn't do that in archery because it's not safe. And two, stop doing this because it's boring.
Just had to get that off my chest.
Thank you. That was very valuable.
I did anyone count how many cinema sins this movie committed?
So many. If we were counting the cinema sins, we'd be there significantly longer and explaining them, it'd be longer than the movie.
There's one line at the end. After they crown Richard, I think the Prime Minister steps back and says, "Long live the King." And then the Queen says, "And Merry Christmas to all," as if those two phrases go hand in hand.
Are you telling me that's not what you say on Christmas, Sheldon?
Long live the King. And Merry Christmas to all.
It might be in that country, I guess.
Mayhaps.
There's a chamber orchestra. Sorry, this is my last note. There's a chamber orchestra, and there's a bassoon in this chamber orchestra. And I was like, what kind of chamber orchestra has I mean, maybe I get having a bassoon, but I mean, it's like a fourth tier instrument in that you would have a bunch of other instruments, I feel, before you'd get to the bassoon.
Avant-garde.
And they're sitting in two lines at opposite ends of a stage for clearly what is optimal acoustic effect. And there's no one conducting this. There's no one leading this little ensemble. Yet somehow they're producing decent music.
All the money in Aldovia goes to the orphanage and to the Royal Chamber Orchestra.
Children and music. Mm-hmm. Pretty good causes.
I like how the musicians are still there. It's the same stage that they are about to crown Richard on. They stay there as the coronation is happening. Oh, wait, hang on, everyone. A speech. Time for a speech at this wedding. Everyone come up one at a time. And the musicians are there. All right, waiting to start playing again. It's there's really nothing dignifying about this stage.
It did feel like a prom stage, you're crowning your prom queen kind of thing. You have your audience standing, after they just dance and watching you get crowned with the band at the back. That's how it felt like.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I guess we could move on to the scores of the movie.
Sheldon.
I gave it a 4.5.
Yingli.
I'm going to give it a 6.5. Because I can't remember what I gave other things. And I know I gave actual good movies a 7. So I can't give it higher than a 7.
And Zara.
5.5.
I was going to be higher for Zara.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just passed 5. I didn't want to ruin my scale because it would be weird. Yeah, that's...
Okay, my higher score is going to leverage out for the overall affection for this type of movie.
I gave it a 2.015, which I rounded down to 2.
Where does that stand in terms of your movie? Is it better than Chicken Girls?
So the Chicken Girls rating, I think I gave Chicken Girls a 1, but that was before the
change,
which happened after The Untouchables. It is higher, but I think if I were to run Chicken Girls through again, which I will have to do sometime, I think Chicken Girls would rate higher because when I was watching Chicken Girls,
are you a rhymes fan?
I was laughing. So I watched that the way I think you and Yingli watched Christmas Prince. Whereas with The Christmas Prince, I was just, angry throughout the film and did not get any enjoyment out of it. And I don't think I could, even looking at it as a bad movie, because I personally felt like this was trying to be a sincere, good movie, whereas I felt like the people who made Chicken Girls knew that wasn't going to be. I might be wrong, but...
that's sad for the children who probably took that movie very seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to be a star. Yeah, kid, right. You're just going to make me money because this is going to be terribly good.
So with those 4 scores, we get to 4.625, which rounds up to 4 3/4, which is our new lowest rated film of the last 4 weeks. And Room is still number 1.
Once again, provided by Zara.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Children of the Corn did this beat Children of the Corn?
Children of the Corn was 3 1/4, but of the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So Children of the Corn, this was better. I did enjoy this more than Children of the Corn.
You gave this a significantly higher. Well,
okay.
Not significantly. 3.5 to 5.5.
Okay.
Yingli gave a 3 1/4 for Children of the Corn. Sheldon gave it a 3 1/4. I gave it a 3 compared to my 2 to this movie.
It makes sense, especially if you're sitting there quaking in your chair, because that's how I felt watching Children of the Corn, where I was like absolutely quaking watching that go down. But at least Christmas Prince, I can just let it run and giggle at it.
Oh, the CGI in that movie.
Maybe we can start a new
my
trend.
God.
We can start a new trend of rage watching Christmas movies.
Yeah.
I think that would. Also, I don't watch Hallmark films for this exact reason.
I don't think you're gonna enjoy it based on your rating for this one.
That just about wraps up this meeting of the Anarcho-Syndicalist Film Club. There's a lot more to discuss. Certainly a lot more to discuss. So offer your comments using the hashtag ASFC on Facebook, Twitter, or your favorite social media platform. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss How the Grinch Stole Christmas 2000. Catch you on the flippity flip.